All right, y'all. So we've been covering this a lot about how Republicans are barbecue chicken and they're just getting worse and worse. But man, the evidence keeps piling up, bro. I mean, I prepped this segment a while ago and I just had to keep adding parts to it because there was more stuff that's like, oh my God, how is this real? So take a look at this. This is a pollster asked, it's NPR and PBS, and it's a Marist poll. And they asked the American public, hey, grade President Trump at the 100-day mark. What was his first 100 days like to you? And it's standard grading model A, B, C, D, F, right? Look at the numbers, homie. Look at the numbers. A plurality of voters, nearly a majority of voters, mind you, gave Trump an F. Gave Trump an F. 7% gave him a D, 8% gave him a C, 17% gave him a B, only 23% gave him an A. 23%. I might have to adjust my number of the floor for Trump. I've been saying it's anywhere from 26% to 33%, right? Maybe it can get as low as 23 when the shit really hits the fan. It's possible. It's possible. But certainly now I'm thinking that 33 number is too high because he's already at 39 in one poll, already at 37 in another poll. I think he could get as low. I think that 26 number might be closer to true when we talk about Trump's actual floor. Now, that's still incredible for him because that means a quarter of the country is in his fucking cult, which is wild. But still, maybe it's lower than what we had previously thought. So this is cataclysmic for the regime. So now I should point out also, Trump's number here is 45% that gets an F in his first 100 days. Obama's was just 11%. Biden's was 26%. And then get this, Trump in his first term was 32%. So, in other words, we're more than 10 points worse than in his first term. So that's validation for something we've been saying all the time, which is, look, I know his first term was bad, but this is like way, 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 way worse. In fact, now you look back at the Steve Mnuchin's and the Gary Cohns and you go, I had no idea how much those assholes were keeping the train on the tracks, bro. I had no idea how much. It was a Herculean effort to just make Trump a normal, horrible president as opposed to historically horrible. Okay, so now let's go to what the outlook is when it comes to Republican politicians in the midterms. Now, I know it's very early to be talking about the midterms, but still, there is historical precedent for what the numbers are like now and what they're going to be for the midterms. Okay, so let's watch. I have a lot to say about this, too.
If the House GOP is under any illusions that Donald Trump's fall in the polls won't bring them down as well, they are living on fantasy island. What are we talking about here? Let's take a look at the generic congressional ballot. Democrats versus Republicans. We have 3 polls out within the last few weeks. What do they all show? They all show the Democrats up by 2 points in the CNBC poll. The Fox News poll that was out on Friday, look at that. Democrats up by 7. The New York Times poll that was out this Friday as well, Democrats by 3. And keep in mind, the House GOP won the popular vote back in 2024 by a little less than 3 percentage points. So when you see 3, 7, 2, averaging 4, that is a tremendous shift. That is a shift of 7 points from the November 2024 elections away from the GOP to the House Democrats. Donald Trump dragging down the House Republicans.
Where are we seeing this shift in a most pronounced way?
Where are we seeing it? We've spoken about it, Mr. Berman. We're talking about independence. This is how you know that Trump is bringing down the House GOP. Look at Trump's net favorable rating. In October of 2024, according to the New York Times, it was minus 9 points. Look at where it is now, minus 30 points among independents. That's horrific. That's historically awful. Take a look at the generic ballot. In October of 2024, the Democrats were ahead, but only by 3, well within the margin of error. Look at where they are now, up 17 points. There is no way on God's green earth that the Republicans can hold on to the House of Representatives if they lose independence by 17 percentage points. My goodness gracious. This is what dreams are made of if you're House Democrats, and it's all being driven, or at least in large part being driven, by Donald Trump's rapid drop with independence.
What does history tell us about how a party does heading into a midterm with the type of lead that Democrats have right now?
Yeah, okay, so I went back through history, right? And I looked at the opposition minority party. That, of course, is the Democrats right now. They're a minority in the House to the opposition of the party in the White House, Donald Trump, a Republican. The average House seats won by the opposition minority party, 234 when leading the generic ballot this early by at least 4 percentage points. That happened in 2006 and 2018. 2 huge Democratic years. Democrats love this number. Of course, we still have months to go. We'll see if history repeats itself.
We do, but this is an answer to the question is, why does it matter what these numbers show right now 100 days into the president's term? Well, there's some history that shows it might matter.
That's exactly right. Oftentimes the generic ballot actually is quite predictive at this point.
So what you guys need to understand is There was zero talk about, in the midterms, the Democrats having the ability to take the Senate back because they have a rough map to take the Senate back. But where we are now, it is absolutely on the table for the Democrats to win the Senate back simply because of a massive, massive backlash against the regime. Again, this is something nobody could have foreseen, that they would collapse this bad, the Republicans would, that Democrats could win the Senate in a year when the map is biased against them colossally. But that's where we are right now. Independents are going gonzo, dog. They are out of there. And as I've said to you guys, in the first term, there were some things you could point to. Oh, Trump did the First Step Act. That was good. Oh, Trump pardoned Alice Johnson. That was good. Oh, look, he banned bump stocks after a mass shooting. That was good. There were these little things you could point to where it was like, okay, he's bad, but hey, we got this one thing that we could fucking hang our hat on and say, okay, at least the sky's not completely and utterly falling. At least he's not the worst president in history, right? In fact, I argued George W. Bush, compared to Trump's first term, Bush was worse. George W. Bush was worse than Trump's first term. Now, I would already say we're 100 days in, I'd already say Trump's second term is worse than George W. Bush. And everybody seems to agree. Certainly the independents seem to agree. So here's another thing. Americans were asked, what's Trump's biggest failure? What's his biggest mistake since he came into office this time? And the answer is pretty straightforward. As you can see here, this is the word bubble thing. Tariffs were by far and away the biggest mistake. Now, I have to say, I was a little surprised by this because when you're looking at, I think all the stuff with the kidnappings and the human traffickings, they are not deportations. The total destruction of due process and habeas corpus, rounding people up, shipping the war on free speech where you can't even criticize Israel or you get deported or locked up indefinitely, right? To me, I look at that and I go, oh, this is an assault on the rule of law, checks and balances. It's an assault on the Magna Carta, which is from 1215. Trump's trying to roll the clock back to the year 1200. So in my mind, I think of that, and I think of the constant warmongering and threatening with foreign countries, bombing Yemen relentlessly, bombing Somalia, threatening war with Iran, threatening war with Mexico, saying I'm going to take Canada and make it the 51st state, saying we're going to take Panama. To me, those things probably supersede it, but I figured out why tariffs are the number one thing. And look, it's very straightforward. People are at the end of the day, what matters directly most to people in this country? How am I doing? How am I doing? What's my wallet look like? What's my bank account like? What's my pocketbook like? And the tariffs, people are already seeing the impacts of the tariffs. We just got news. The economy contracted 0.3% as inflation went up. So in other words, stagflation is already here. That's an economic nightmare. That's the worst of all worlds. That's something where even the Federal Reserve goes, what do we do in reaction to this? Right? And so, given that it's directly impacting people's money, that's why tariffs are number one. I told you I've already witnessed the impact of the tariffs. I bought a new pair of business shoes. It was $27. And then a couple days later, I was like, oh, I like these. Let me get a few more pairs of these. And it went from 27 to 40 in 2 days. Okay. Now, I can handle that, but 60% of the country is living paycheck to paycheck. Right? This is fucking horrible. People are not going to be able to make ends meet. And so number one issue is tariffs. And by the way, it is about to get way worse too. The idea we hit the bottom and now the economy is going to grow from here. Oh, it takes a while, but it'll change. Wrong. No, it won't. It's only going to get worse. There is no logic to what they're doing. There is no logic. The idea it's going to revive American manufacturing, totally bogus. The opposite is happening. Factories are shutting down now as a direct result of this. So, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's massively incompetent, and he's tanking everything. So, by the way, other words that are relatively large on the screen here in terms of big mistakes Trump made. Tariffs, number one. Musk looks like number two, which makes sense because Doge is destroying the social safety net and screwing people over. You already, half the Social Security offices being closed is a fucking nightmare. They're trying to make Social Security collapse. Tariff is another one. Well, tariffs and tariffs are the same shit. Some people spelled tariffs wrong. That was another big one. War, I see, is another big one. Elon is up there too, relatively big. Somebody's office is pretty big. That's bizarre. Mistake is pretty big. That's also bizarre. But anyway, tariffs are just an albatross around homie's neck, and I don't know how he's going to get out of it. So Here he is now. Understand, it has been for 2 or 3 weeks now. Every poll that we've seen has been just Dunskies. Just, oh my God, you are literally historically low. In the history of modern polling, he's at the dead bottom. So everybody knows that. Everybody's aware of that. Everybody's talking about that. So what does Trump do? He does a 100-day rally because, of course, he does. This is his safe space. And listen to what he says. This is unbelievable.
This is all done in 100 days. But when you watch the fake news, you see fake polls. Again, they poll more Democrats than Republicans. Democrats aren't going to say, I'm going to vote for Trump. And we still got 45, 44%. But on the legitimate polls, I think we're in the 60s. I think we're in the 60s or 70s or something.
This is a lie. He knows it's a lie. And this is actually really, really dangerous. And the reason it's dangerous is when you have a president who's gone full right-wing postmodernist at a time when the economy is collapsing, how do we know he's not going to pretend like, actually, the economy's doing great. Actually, it's amazing. I don't know what everybody's talking about. Empty shelves. We want the empty shelves. That's totally fine. What's the problem? I don't understand. So do you understand why this is so terrifying? Any other president, when he's being hit with, sir, the economy contracted by 0.3%. Sir, unemployment is going up. Sir, inflation is going up. Any other president that hears that, they're like, I'm on it. Now, maybe we might not agree with how they try to solve that, but they're on it. And they genuinely have a team of experts that's like, we're gonna figure this out and we're gonna do something. He was told that about the economic numbers, and Trump immediately goes out and says, what people don't understand is this is a hangover from the Biden administration. This is all Biden's fault. This is not when the tariffs kick in, everything will be wonderful, everything will be glorious. And so the fact that he's so disconnected from the truth and he's a pathological liar means when he's confronted with real world problems that need real world solutions, he goes, we don't have to do anything. We just stay the course. He's saying he's in the 60s or 70 percentile range at a time when he's historically the lowest in polling history at this point in his time in office. Now, at the same time, here we go. He flagrantly violated a 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, 9-0, that says you have to facilitate the return of Kilar Garcia. Guess what? He's been told multiple times by the media. The media literally quoted to him the exact part that says you have to facilitate his return. And every time he says the same thing, I got to talk to my lawyers. My lawyers say something different. I leave it up to my lawyers. I have nothing to do with it. And then now that he gets to run free in a rally, what does he say?
And also, we cannot allow a handful of communist, radical left judges to obstruct the enforcement of our laws and assume the duties that belong solely to the President of the United States. Judges are trying to take away the power given to the President to keep our country safe, and it's not a good thing. But I hope, for the sake of our country, that the Supreme Court is going to save this, because we have to do something. These people are just looking to destroy our country. Nothing will stop me in the mission to keep America safe again. It's very simple. Keep America safe again.
So they literally arrested a judge who was following the law. Now he's got this threat, and it absolutely is an implied threat to the Supreme Court. I hope they do the right thing. I hope they save us from this. But nothing's going to stop me from doing what I got to do. Think about how far we are up Schitt's Creek without a paddle here, bro. Think about that. You give him a little bit of space to speak his mind, and you think he doesn't know he lost 9-0? Like, at first, I'm sure Stephen Miller lied to him and said, oh no, we won 9-0, I'm sure. But then it's not like, he can claim ignorance at this late date, because he's been told directly. We've seen it on camera and seen it in writing from that Time magazine article where it's quoted directly to him. You have to facilitate the return. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. My lawyers say something different. I don't know what you're talking about. And then here he is talking about the communist radical left judges that are destroying this country, and nothing's going to stop him from doing what he wants to do. Okay. Right-wing postmodernist. For those of you who don't know, what I mean by that is he doesn't believe in the Enlightenment. He doesn't believe in objective truth and empiricism. What a postmodernist does is They have, it's my truth, not the truth. I'm going to give you my truth, and my truth is my version through my lens, my framework, my perspective. That's what I mean when I say he's a right-wing postmodernist. And so that's how you get a scenario where we can learn an ironclad, stone-cold fact, and then he goes out there and says the exact opposite. So here's another example of it. Watch.
Tourism is going to be way up. Wait till you see the numbers. The tourism is way up.
Not now.
Now, Canada, tourism's doing very well. We're doing very well. We're doing very well. Wait till you see the real numbers come out in 6 months from now. Wait till you see the numbers.
These charts that you see here on screen, that's what's actually happening with tourism. It has fallen off of a cliff. Why? Because nobody wants to come to this country and then get rounded up and shipped to a slave labor gulag concentration camp in El Salvador. Nobody wants to come to this country and have the U.S. federal government scroll through their social media timeline and say, you made a joke about Trump 3 years ago, we're kicking you out of the country. So of course the numbers are going to go down, and here he is with a straight face. The numbers are great. The tourism numbers are great. They're wonderful. They're amazing. I seriously, I really think that this guy is a world record liar. I don't know if there's ever been a more prolific liar than this man. Again, you think he doesn't know that the tourism numbers are in the toilet? Of course he knows. But he just lies. He just lies. So I don't know. Again, on a daily basis, you get hit with like a dozen new lies. I'm not sure anybody in human history has been this prolific a liar. I'm really not sure. Now, by the way, this wasn't even the biggest lie in this interview. It wasn't. You want to know what that was? Here we go. Talking about Kilar Garcia. I can't. I mean, this is why I say if you still defend Trump, if you're still pro-Trump, you are just in a fascist cult. There's no. I want to try to be kind to you. I want to try to create some sort of story or narrative that can exonerate you to some extent, but I can't do it. I can't. It's not possible. It's not possible based on the evidence. So here we go. Listen to this lie.
He wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute
over that. Wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattoo.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshopped. That
was Photoshopped. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture. We'll
and you think it was Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine, sir.
Terry,
I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't there, but they're there now, right?
No,
but
they're in your picture.
Terry.
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
We'll take a look.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at that,
Why don't you just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else?
It's contested.
Wow. Now, I know a lot of people watch that, and they think, oh my God, Trump was actually convinced that it says MS-13 when it was the worst Photoshop of all time. No, guys. No. He's lying, and he knows he's lying. But he's powering through and doubling down and tripling down and quadrupling down to create the impression among his supporters that Trump is right, or at the very least, it's debatable. It's debatable. Guys, I'm going to show you the picture. This is the picture Trump held up in the White House. Look at that picture. They literally wrote MS-13. I don't even know if they were trying to make it look like it was tattoos that he had. I think it was here, for illustration purposes, we're going to pretend like those symbols mean MS-13 if you interpret it, right? But Trump is just bulldozing through and lying and saying, no, it says MS-13. Now, by the way, even to the claim that, it's symbolism, but it does mean MS-13, right? Even to that claim, that's also not true. You want to know what MS-13 tattoos look like? They say MS-13. They say MS-13, not big on symbolism, these types. It says MS-13. That's what an MS-13 tattoo looks like. Again, Trump is claiming this obvious Photoshop job. He is lying relentlessly and saying, it is that. I don't know why you're saying that, Terry. Look, I've been very nice to you. You're not being very nice to me. Why can't you just say I'm right? Why can't you just say I'm right? Again, he is immensely sociopathic. He's a narcissistic, sociopathic psychopath who lies and knows he's lying, but he's just trying to build a fortress of lies around him that he pretends it's the truth. Dupe my 30% of the population that's always with me no matter what, and then try to make it that with another 20% they go, I don't know, one person says it's real, one person says it's fake, I don't know what to believe. That's the goal of what he's doing there. This is what I mean when I say he's a right-wing postmodernist. He's lying on purpose. He's lying for a reason. He's saying, this is my truth. Again, he knows. He knows that it's not true. He knows, but he doesn't care. Again, one more time. Here's what a real MS-13 tattoo looks like. I got one more for you. Here's what another MS... It says MS-13. Ain't no symbolism, bitch. It says MS-13. Ladies and gentlemen, does that look like an MS-13 tattoo to you? These people just lie. These people just lie. The evidence that Kilar Garcia was in a gang was that he was wearing Chicago Bulls attire. I'm not kidding. He was at a Home Depot parking lot looking for work with a bunch of people he didn't know. Cops came up, separated these different people, these immigrants, and said, if you give me information on somebody else, then I'll let you go. So one of the guys pointed at Kilar and said, oh yeah, he's in a gang. And he tells the officer, yeah, he's in a gang in New York. Kilar Garcia never lived in New York. So, and the evidence was so bad, courts threw it out immediately. He has no criminal record. All this, again, they know all of this stuff. They don't care. They don't care. He's a liar and a fascist. He doesn't care about whose life he ruins. He's building a narrative. He's building a narrative and sticking to it no matter what and lying relentlessly to the American people. Guys, it's time to have the conversation. The 25th Amendment should be invoked. I mean, look, we should already be at the point where he's impeached, removed, arrested, criminally charged, and convicted. But short of that, we need the 25th Amendment. When you have this motherfucker saying, oh, tourism is up, tourism's doing great, and that's what tourism looks like. The line goes straight down, and he knows that that's the case, but he still says it. When you have him saying, no, he literally had MS-13 written on his knuckles, and this is the evidence, this is the picture he's using, we are beyond the realm of like, oh, it's just normal political lies. We're way beyond that. How are we even discussing this anymore? How is this a debate anymore? He's got to go. He's got to go. Never mind the fact that he's destroying the Constitution in literally 100 days. Never mind the fact he's gotten rid of due process. Never mind the fact he set up a fucking foreign concentration camp and he's sending people there. Never mind the fact they're trying to deport American citizens. Never mind the warmongering even with ally country of ours. He's got to go. He's got to go. There's no way around it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.